Chapter 3. Later that evening, Wiglaf ran down the steps to the castle window to say good night to Dudwin. He peeked in at the door. The Cairnsey lads are going dragon questing, Dudwin was telling his friends. Lucky them, said Birgie, Angus's cousin who was in class 1. Yeah, lucky them, said Margot, Birgie's twin brother. I wish we could fight a dragon, said a burly class 1 lad. Me too, said Dudwin. The Cairnsey lads are going after a small dragon. It has a huge hoard of gold. Mountains of it. Dudwin did not see Wiglaf standing in the doorway. He was having too much fun telling his story. It has pink ears, Dudwin continued. So it's a boy dragon, and it has yellow eyes with cherry red centers. Wiglaf gasped. Worm had yellow eyes with cherry red centers. They are going to slay this dragon tomorrow, Dudwin said. What if the Cairnsey lads are after Worm? Thought Wiglaf. He didn't wait to hear any more. He raced back upstairs to the class 2 dorm. Angers, wake up! He cried, shaking his friends. He told Angers what he had heard. This dragon sounds exactly like Worm, Wiglaf said. We must save him. Angers said, You're right, he said. But there are lots of Cairnsey lads. Let's get Erica and Janice to help us. Good idea, said Wiglaf. We can sneak over to the lassies' dorm and tell them to pack up. We will leave at dawn. What if Frypot catches us? Asked Angers. He will throw us in the dungeon for time out, and we will never save Worm. Wiglaf frowned, thinking. At last, he said, I still have the cap of invisibility that Jella gave Dudwin. If we stick very close together, I think it will turn both of us invisible. Angers shook his head. Jellag is the world's worst wizard. His spells always go wrong. If we put on that helmet, we could end up with 5 feet, or nothing but arms. Wiglaf shrugged. It's worth a try. He reached under his cot and pulled out a bright blue cap covered with silver lightning bolts. He put it on his head, closed his eyes, and chanted, Jippity Jap! Gadzooks! Cried Angers. You've vanished. Now Angers felt an invisible arm wrapped around his shoulders. He looked down at where his feet should be, but he couldn't see them. Guess what? You're invisible too, said Wiglaf. 'Tis true, I'm gone, said Invisible Angers. But how do we walk like this? We won the 3-legged race on field day. Remember? Said Invisible Wiglaf. Let's go. The lads stumbled invisibly down the stone staircase and down the hall to the big wooden door. Wiglaf pushed it open. He peered into the castle yard. It looked empty. Egad, whispered Angers. What's that? Wiglaf saw it too. A monstrous shape looming out of the dark. His heart nearly stopped. "'Tis a dragon," he managed. The dragon held very still. Wiglaf squinted into the night. "Angers," he said, his heart beating once more. "'Tis only old Blodgett, the practice dragon." Angers sighed with a relief. The two crept invisibly across the castle yard. They tiptoed up the front steps of the lassie's dome tower, nearly bumping into Frypot, who was standing guard at the foot of the tower. "Who goes there?" squawked Frypot, sniffing suspiciously. "I smell eel." "Uh-oh," thought Wiglaf. "I still stink of eel aid." "We are goners." He crossed his fingers and held his breath. "But then I always smell eel," Frypot muttered to himself. "That's what happens when you cook ears all day long. Ears, ears, ears." Never a nice swamp rat or a juicy pile of toads. Or I could cook with some nice plump lychees. Frypot stomped down the steps, still muttering. Wiglaf watched him disappear into the dark. He let out his breath. Then the two ladders slipped into the tower. They hurried invisibly up the winding stone staircase to the Class 2 lassie's dorm. Not to reappear, whispered Wiglaf. He let go of Angus. Instantly, Angus became visible. Jippity-jib, Wiglaf chanted. Nothing happened. Jippity-jib, Wiglaf said loudly. Suddenly, the door in front of them flew open. Erica stuck her head out. Angus, she said. What are you doing here? Angus sputtered as all the lassies jumped off their cots and ran to the doorway to see what was happening. Angus, squealed Princess Gwendolen of Gagglethorpe. Is this a raid? No, yelped Angus. And it's not just me. Wiglaf is here too. Where? Said Gwen. I don't see him. Jippity-jab, shouted Wiglaf, but then he shouted, Uh-oh. Angus said the lassies watched wide-eyed as Wiglaf's hand appeared, then disappeared. His nose appeared. The lassies giggled. Yikes! Wiglaf cried as his nose vanished and his left leg appeared. He reached up, grabbed the cap, and tugged with all his might. It popped off, and suddenly all of Wiglaf was visible again. Janice snapped her gum excitedly. I love this, she said. There's always something crazy happening. Shh, warned Erica. You don't want the Frypot to catch them, she eyed Wiglaf. So what are you doing here? We need to talk to you and Janice, said Wiglaf. The two lassies stepped out into the hallway. Wiglaf told them about the KNC ladders and how Worm might be in danger. Lancelot's liver, Janice said. I remember Worm. He came to warn us about Snagglefang. We must rescue him, said Wiglaf. You're right, Wiggy, Erica said, and we will. Normally we are dragon slayers, but now we shall be dragon savers.